Okay, we are back and we are going now into musculoskeletal. All right, musculoskeletal. All right, so the first one, of course, we start with our intro, introducing yourself, reason for visit, hand hygiene, ensure privacy, and you're ending this assessment okay. The big picture, when I look at this one, there is your inspection, palpation, and passive range of motion. Then it says axial, skeleton, and active range of motion. So I know that there's parts where I'm gonna, active range of motion, where I'm gonna be telling the patient what to do for range of motion. And then there's a part of this that is passive range of motion, which I have to do, which I may try doing with that dummy over there. We'll see how far I get. That I have to do, and I only ask that you do it on one side of the body if you get this particular competency to sign off. Just in the interest of time, I don't make you do both sides, just one side of the body. And you'll see that on my midterm competency video when I put all these together for you. When we're talking about musculoskeletal system, the things that cause decreased range of motion, what kinds of things are we talking about that cause decreased range of motion to the musculoskeletal system in a person's body? Arthritis, joint deformities, contractures, calcifications, atrophy, what else? Problems with tendons, that structural issues, broken bones for sure, right? I think you're hitting most of my list here. And the other one, of course, would be pain, right? For whatever underlying cause may be impeding their ability to do these things. So I think you hit all my good ones right there. You're in my notes. So when we're looking, so let's look at inspection. Inspection, normally I have my little skeleton here, but I think he's been laid to rest. I miss him or her, them, yeah, because they were a nice model for me for this section. But when we're talking about inspection, it says joint symmetry, bony deformities, color, swelling, muscle mass, position, posture. You're looking at a lot with just inspection of the skeletal system. You can do a scan, you can do a head to toe scan of the person's body and note if you see any prominent areas of deformity when you're looking at this person's body, particularly around the joints, the elbows, the knees, the hands, the wrists, the arms, or the knees. Those tend to be your key areas for that. You can tell how they're posturing. I think about posturing for breathing, particularly those that have COPD or any other kind of obstructive disease. Perhaps they'll be leaned forward a little bit because they'll be having problems breathing. What are you seeing with this, the skeleton in terms of joint deformity? The other thing you may see on a side view when you're looking at your patient in terms of normal curvature of the spine. So we say you have a curvature here in the neck, cervical area, then it should round out a little bit in the thoracic. It goes down and it goes in a little bit for your sacral spine, and then it curves around, for your lumbar spine, and then it curves down into your sacral spine, down to your coccyx. God, look at me remembering stuff like that. That was pretty good. So when you're looking at this line of the spine, right? I'll put my head, and I want my neck, and I want a little protrusion there, I want a little bit of boom boom there, and then they come on down, right? We'll call it. So I don't want to see any kind of deformities, such as what in terms of curvature? On scoliosis, lordosis, kyphosis, major three. So what are they? What is scoliosis? Spine with the head looking from the back, spine goes down S shape. This is looking from a side view. This is looking from a front view. That the spine does this S-shaped thing. You see it on the board? Yeah, you can see it on the video for sure. I want a nice, right? What's kyphosis? Hunchback. So on my person from a side view, this thing would be protruding out like that. It's like, oh, clean up. It's like that on the right, coming off the neck. It's like this big hump dump thing going on the back. Okay. And lordosis is what we call sway back, right? And there's sort of, I don't know how we draw that one. How would I draw sway? Huh? Yeah, I don't know how we draw a sway back.
It's on your belly sticks out. It's very sway
That's a good question. I don't know how do you draw a sway back. Okay, we're gonna do a dramatic pause on this. Okay, so for sway back, I'm seeing a number of variations when I go and actually Google for them and look at the picture. So it shows a sway back where there is a swaying of the spine that looks a bit like kyphosis up top, and it looks like at the bottom, the spine is doing a thing where it's going and pushing kind of forward, right? There's this weird thing where you got this hump and then you're swaying in this way. The other one, which is the classic one, that's the hump and the spine going in forward. The other one here that I'm seeing, which is somebody who is kind of like this. It's kind of like their back. Let me see, I don't know if you can see it, where they're kind of leaning back. It's kind of a sway back. It's like they're just, it's not the right position. It's not the way the back should lie. So I'm seeing variations of this kind of back that's out of alignment. So if I had to draw it with my little stick figures, I would draw sway back with my curvature coming down and then swaying in, right? Kind of like that maybe, where it's just kind of out of alignment. That may not be the best drawing, but that's what I'm trying to indicate, that there's a swaying of the back. So you can peek at the visuals on that when you look at sway back. Anyway, I don't want any of those. I want this nice normal curvature of the spine. So again, these are just my inspection skills. So then the next inspection skill, as I'm looking at this particular competency I might go to, it says, I see places where it says assess strength, and then I see another inspection skill under axial skeleton. It says inspect spine for deviation and curvature. Right, so again, I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the curvature, very similar up to up above, but I'm noting any kind of issues around curvature. I'm being very attentive to talk about the curvatures that I'm seeing, right? And are there any kind of difficulties or abnormalities with the curvature in particular, just upon inspection? Now, again, I'm gonna do this in kind of a, I think, where do I wanna go next? I think I could, before I do anything, let's see, I'm trying to decide where I wanna lay my hands on. Let's go to, do I wanna ask or palpate next? I'm like, I may wanna ask first. It may be interesting to ask them next. Before that way, I'm still not touching before I lay hands on, right? Because that's how I teach it. So before I even touch them still, I haven't even laid hands on them, so just looking at things, right? Looking at the spine, look. I may ask them, let's do some range of motion. Let's go into active range of motion next, because those are ask skills. Assess active range of motion of the neck. So can you do forward? Can you do back? Can you do left? Can you do right? And can you do pivot this thing all the way around left? And can you pivot all the way around? That's assess active range of motion of the neck. Assess active range of motion of bilateral upper extremities and bilateral lower extremities. I have a note here, these are on page 611. So shoulders, elbows, wrists, and then it says hips, knees, ankles, toes. So what these joints are, where are my notes at here? Oh, here they are up above. So my shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint, is what I call it, a ball and socket joint. So a ball and socket joint has limitations of what it can do, right? It can go up, it can go down, it can go across, it can go to this, and it can do circly, 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 circle in the joint. I can't take this thing and flip it back. It ain't doing all that, right? It ain't going behind me. It ain't going, I can't flip it around to this side unless I'm double jointed or something. But I want to get that full range of motion, have them move that thing in all directions. The elbow joint is a hinge joint. Hinge joints are just don't do anything but this. That's all a hinge joint can do. It can't go round and round. Hinge joints are full range of motion of elbow. Can you do this motion? It's in its entirety. That's all a hinge joint can do. It doesn't go left or right, in or out, round and round. It don't do all that. It's just a hinge, kind of like on the door hinge. It just goes this way, opens and closes. That's all it does. Wrist, fingers are interesting. You know, there's tons of bones here. The metacarpal bones, down in the feet, the metatarsal bones. You know, there's a bunch of them in here. They're interesting because they do a few things. When I'm looking at wrist, it can go round and round. It can go up and down. It can go side to side. That wrist can do a lot of things, kind of almost similar to the neck in terms of what it can do. I don't know if it can go, yeah, it can go full range of motion, right? Round and round, and round and round the other way, back, front, side, side, right? Fingers, hinge joints. Again, these are hinges. They can't do a whole lot. I can open them, abduct them, adduct them, close them, and open them, full range of motion. Okay? Now, hips coming down my patient. I'll put the screen down a little bit. On my hip joints here, the hip is a joint. It's a ball and socket joint as well. So, right? So it can go backwards. It can come forwards. You can go abduct, adduct, right? The hip is very limited to what it can do as well. The knee joint is a hinge joint. So it will go this way and this way. That's what the knee does. And then the ankles and toes, I gotta say this, I'm not gonna be that incredible, are kind of like the wrist is. If you get your foot and ankles and toes, it can go round and round, push down, flex up. It can do all of the movements that the hand can do with all the bones there. So I'd ask my patient, can they do all of those movements? And I would assess if they have full range of motion, limited range of motion, partial range of motion, no range of motion. One way to measure. Or if I really wanted to be clever, here's my other one, students. If I say, for example, this is what physical therapists do. If I take my neck from here to completely to there, what is the degree in that one? This goes back to your math days. What's the angle of degrees, this from here to here? 90 degrees, exactly. So if you say to me, turn your neck as far as you can to the right or the left, and I go from here to here, and I'll tell you that's as far as I can go with stuff. What might you say? 45 degrees. You hear what I'm saying? That's a good assessment, exactly. Can only do neck on the right to 45 degrees. Able to do neck completely to 90 degrees on the left. Physical therapists have these little cool devices they use to measure all this kind of good stuff. Same thing with the elbow. It can go all the way out, which is what? No. What is this angle? That's 180. This is 90, 180, right? So you can't get me all the way down to here, which will be what? There's your 0, okay, all the way. If I go all the way, right? I bring it all the way down. This is the one full 180. Right? If I go flip this sucker all the way around, it'd be a 360. That's a circle, right? Double jointed again. I ain't that talented. Okay, but you get where I'm going? You get what I'm going? I'm adding a little math to it because now I can think of this in terms of different ways and how I want to describe it. In terms of partial, limited, 80 degrees, right? And it's a guesstimate, okay, because you don't have the devices to measure exactly. I will give you options. I'm giving you options, either or works, or for Tina, as you go on in shadow health, right? Because you're working with Tina. that you begin to have language to make your assessment whatever way fits you best. Full range of motion of both of elbows bilaterally. Angles able to have full 180-degree range in both elbows. Either or works for me, right? The big thing is, my notes tell me here to tell you to compare bilaterally is the ticket. Big thing is comparing bilaterally. Make a start by that. For active range of motion. Active range of motion, you can do both. Passive is one side. Active, you can do both. Because you have them doing it, right? And again, they would be supine. So now I covered a good chunk. Now maybe I can go ahead and lay a hand on it, right? I've done all I could do. Now I've got to lay my hands on and do some stuff now. So before I get into the chunk of this active range of motion, I'm going to go ahead and have them assess. I'm going to do a couple of things before I do the big money maker. I'm going to palpate there's a section here, strength I need to assess, and then forward fold and TMJ. That's where I want to go next. So I can do them in either order. Strength, have them upper extremities, hold your hands here, push against me or pull against me. You can do either or both. I like both. And same thing with the lower extremities on my legs. While they're sitting on a non-movable surface, I put them on a desk or something or the exam table like we had today, and have them push while you're holding the lower end of the leg. Push and then push or pull against the lower part of your leg, the top of the foot. Pull and pull against you. Don't do it on a roly surface. That is dangerous. That is a recipe for hazard. And you could say, because we're looking for things like any kind of plegia, paraplegia, hemiplegia, weakness. Five is full resistance, or 0 is no contraction at all. You get nothing. And then you can palpate now for spiny processes, tenderness, deformity, deviation with forward fold. So you're feeling each vertebrae when they're bending over. So it should be concave when they flatten out the spine. So I like running my fingers down the spine this way. Uh-oh, I'm off video. Running my fingers down the spine this way, these two fingers, just running them down these curvatures to see what I feel. And I would have them bend over because now this forward fold should go, it should flatten out. What was a little curvature, I had more curvature in my younger day. It should flatten out, right? To tabletop. But you're going from the top all the way down on forward fold. And what you're feeling for as you run these two fingers from the top of the neck all the way down your partner's spine, blue, 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 is you're feeling for any kind of slippage in the spine. As I'm feeling with these two fingers on each side of the spine, is there a slippage or a difference in what the vertebrae feel like as I go down the spine? Things like neck fusions would be a problem. If somebody has a fusion, you'll feel something different in terms of what should be that curvature. You'll feel something different. Okay. Or low back rods. If they have low back rods, you'll feel something, it feels different. Or their ability to be able to do this test may be impeded. And then TMJ is put your hands on each side of the jaw, or open mouth, open, close. And there's an area here, open, close. And I'm seeing when I feel where that joint comes in, that jaw line comes into the face, is there any clicking? There should not be any clicking or pain when a person does this. Do I feel any clicking? Anybody have any clicking? Sometimes I get a clicker. It's always fun to feel a clicker. TMJ, this is what we're talking about, TMJ. Clicker, they're clickers. Clickers or poppers, anybody have one? Any clickers or poppers? Who? Who has it? Okay, hold, pause. We think we have one. Okay, so we had a nice experience here for that, for our TMJ and that clicking. We had it all the way live. And then what else? Then that takes me to my, I told you, then that takes me back up to my passive range of motion, which is essentially the same motions I'm gonna do on my, that I did with my patient actively, I'm gonna do them on my dummy. So let me see if I can realign myself for this, hold on. All right, so we're back on video and, okay, so for my, on the one side of my patient, it's passive range of motion. Now I have to do the exercises. The nurse does the exercises. How much can the patient do the exercises they're supposed to do, right? Okay, obviously this was not happening. He's stiff, so there it is. He's supposed to go all the way over, right? As far as I'm getting. He's got a limitation. He's didn't get full range of motion on shoulder. That's all as far as he does, right? On his elbow, ooh, he's stuck. He's gonna try it. I'm getting very little movement, but I feel, ooh, as far as he can go. All right, he's really stiff. Almost rigor mortis. Okay. Same thing with the hand. I would give exercises to this person to move the wrists around. And again, he's stiff as a Dickens. Take the fingers, open them, take the fingers, close them. To do what I was had my patient do, I would do them. The nurse is doing passive range of motion. Same thing with the leg, the hip joint. Does the hip joint do what it's supposed to do? It's not going in that way, so there's a little bit of restriction there. My knee joint, and I bring it up and down. My foot joint, I should be able to go around and around with it a little bit. I get a little bit of movement here. And same thing with the toes. All right, and that's passive range of motion. I think I hit all the major joints. Okay? And that's what you're demonstrating. That's passive range of motion.